In April 1924, a detective knelt on the floor of a seaside bungalow and picked up human remains with his bare hands. He didn't know it yet, but that single moment would change how every murder in Britain is investigated, forever. This is the story of Emily Kaye, the Crumbles bungalow, and the birth of the murder bag. Emily Kaye was 37 years old, a shorthand typist from Manchester. She was intelligent, independent, and financially careful. She had savings, investments, and a plan for her life. In 1923, she met a charming salesman named Patrick Mahan. He was married. She may not have known that at first. By early 1924, Emily was pregnant and she believed the two of them were about to start a new life together, abroad. Mahan had other intentions. He rented an isolated bungalow on a lonely stretch of shingle beach near Eastbourne, known as the Crumbles. He told Emily it would be a romantic retreat before they left England. She arrived in April with her luggage and her savings. She was never seen alive again. The case broke open not through police work, but through suspicion. Mahan's wife found a cloakroom ticket in his coat and asked a friend, a former railway policeman, to check it. The ticket led to a locked Gladstone bag at Waterloo Station. Inside were blood-stained items and a large knife. When Mahan collected the bag, detectives were waiting. What officers found at the bungalow is something I will describe only as far as respect allows. Emily Kaye's remains had been subjected to a sustained and deliberate attempt at concealment. Parts of the scene involved the fireplace. Parts involved containers throughout the house. It was, by every account, one of the most harrowing crime scenes in British history. And this is where the investigation itself becomes the story. When the Home Office pathologist Sir Bernard Spilsbury arrived at the Crumbles, he was appalled, not only by the scene but by what the detectives were doing. Officers were sifting through remains with their bare hands. There were no gloves, no evidence containers, no disinfectant, no standard equipment of any kind. In 1924, a Scotland Yard detective attended a murder scene with nothing but a notebook and a pencil. Spilsbury understood immediately that this was more than a health hazard. It was a threat to justice itself. Evidence handled carelessly could be contaminated, degraded, lost, and with it a victim's last chance to be heard. Working alongside Detective Chief Inspector Percy Savage, Spilsbury pushed for something that now seems obvious: a standardized kit for murder investigations: rubber gloves, sterile containers and test tubes, tweezers and forceps, magnifying equipment, tape, swabs, disinfectant, everything a detective would need to preserve a scene, packed and ready before the call ever came. It became known as the murder bag. Within a year, murder bags were issued to Scotland Yard, and the idea spread through British policing. Every gloved hand you've ever seen at a crime scene, every sealed evidence bag, every careful, methodical recovery, traces back in part to that bungalow on the Crumbles and to Emily Kaye. At the scene, Spilsbury did what the era demanded of him. Over hours of painstaking work, he examined and documented everything that remained. His reconstruction dismantled Mahan's story piece by piece. Mahan claimed Emily had died accidentally during a quarrel, that she had fallen and struck her head. But the physical evidence told another story, and one detail proved damning. Mahan had purchased the knife and a saw before Emily ever arrived at the bungalow. This was not an accident, it was planned. There was one final strange note in the trial. Mahan claimed that on the night he disposed of evidence in the fireplace, a violent thunderstorm broke over the Crumbles, and at the moment of a lightning flash, he fled the house in terror. The jury heard it all. They deliberated for less than an hour. Patrick Mahan was convicted of murder at Lewes Assizes in July 1924 and executed at Wandsworth Prison that September. Emily Kaye is often reduced to a footnote in the story of forensic history. She deserves better. She was a capable, self-made woman who trusted the wrong man, a man who took her savings, her trust, and her life. The reforms her case produced have protected the integrity of evidence in thousands of investigations since. In a very real sense, victims for the last 100 years have been better served because of what happened to her. The bungalow is long gone, the Crumbles has been built over, but every time a scenes of crime officer pulls on a pair of gloves, a small piece of April 1924 is still there. If you'd like more forgotten cases that quietly changed British policing, subscribe to The Cordon, and if there's a case you think deserves this treatment, leave it in the comments. We read every one. Thank you for listening. Take care of each other.